This event had MDRT members sharing their finest ideas so we can all be the best we can be. One of my favourite quotes I find applies to my business, to my personal life, and to the progression of MDRT. It's what we do when we've done enough that matters most. As the theme of this event states, it's time now to MDRT up, to climb, upgrade and upscale. As a member or aspiring member of MDRT, now is the time to demonstrate to all around us that we are the leaders of our profession. We adhere to the strictest ethical standards and we achieve excellence in productivity. What we do for our clients and our families and our companies makes a positive difference in the world. Despite the challenges we all face, we can commit to continue to grow, become stronger, and be better together. While things may not be back to normal just yet, for many of us, we are back to business. And MDRT is here to help you as much as possible, in as many ways as possible, every single day you need us. MDRT qualification remains the benchmark for excellence in the financial services profession across the world. Because of the pandemic and restrictions on working, MDRT has the Productivity Action Plan to assist you. For returning members, we've waived the membership production requirement in 2021 for anyone who is an MDRT member in 2019 or 2020. Welcome back. And for those applying for the first time, the 2021 production requirement will be adjusted based on the 2020 requirement due to the effects of the pandemic. If you're one of the fortunate ones who are able to continue work at previous or even increased levels of production, maybe this adjusted requirement will enable you to take the step to the next level and achieve quarter of the table or the pinnacle, top of the table. Whatever your qualification level, I look forward to welcoming you as a member in 2021. I hope we are able to meet in person sooner rather than later. Now, I'd like to share with you a little of my story, a little of my journey from joining MDRT to becoming president. I'm going to share the tools and tips that enabled me to move from prospecting to marketing, from no qualifications to further education, and from hard work to smarter work, and how I moved from starting out at MDRT through quarter of the table to top of the table and maintaining that level of production while still spending time with my family, looking after myself and giving back to charities and causes. I'm going to share with you what I've done every day at work for almost 25 years. I call it the success plan. I'm a life insurance agent, like you. I'm a financial planner, like you. I was never given any clients. I didn't inherit a business. I built my practice from nothing, using just what you see in front of you, this and this. From the very start, 25 years ago, I understood that to be a success, I had to provide high quality service and advice to my clients. I would be more successful if I first helped my clients become more successful. I would earn more money only when I first helped them earn more money. Now, I didn't invent these ideas. I learned them from fellow MDRT members. And then I adapted the ideas I heard to work a little better for me with my clients. And I urge you, when today is over, when you go back to your families and businesses, to implement the ideas I share that you think will work for you. Do them once, then do them again and again. Improve each a little more each time, so the improvements are incremental, and make them critical habits that must be done each day. If we keep doing what we've always done, we will get what we have always got. Change can be difficult and scary, but it is the key to growth. And most importantly, combining regular doing with regular improvements, day by day, month by month, is the key to growth with quality, and ultimately a seat at MDRT's top of the table. In 1996, I became an advisor. I had no clients. My first manager, on my first day, asked me how I was feeling. I said I was a little nervous at leaving behind a comfortable job in a different profession with a regular salary. I was in a worrying position, I said. He told me I was thinking about it incorrectly. Previously, in my employed, salaried role, I was not responsible for my future. Someone else was. But now, as an advisor, I was responsible for my future. What better position to be in, he said. And I took that lesson to heart. If we don't have enough prospects or things are not going well, it is us that must change. We must not blame our failure to succeed on anything but ourselves. We mustn't blame the economy or our company or our manager or our product or our neighbour. If things are not going as well as they could, we should stop and look around. If someone somewhere is doing well, then so can we. In 1996, I looked at the top person in my company and I said to myself, if they can do it, I can do it. So I started to work hard. I stopped playing at being an advisor and I started working at being the best advisor. I was first into the office in the morning and I was last out in the evening. I made more calls than anyone else. Of course, this meant I heard more no's than anyone else. But soon, I was getting more yeses. And it was also in 1996 that I first heard of MDRT. I attended a UK professional society conference and a fellow delegate smuggled me into the exclusive MDRT evening reception. I was introduced to the president speaking to me. He told me all about MDRT and I resolved there and then to become a member the very next year. And in 1997, guess what happened? Did I make MDRT membership? No, I didn't. I failed, but I kept trying. I worked harder. And in 1998, guess what happened? Did I make MDRT membership? No, I didn't. I failed again, but I kept trying and I worked even harder. And in 1999, guess what happened? I made MDRT membership. And I went to the annual meeting in New Orleans. It was amazing. I'd never experienced anything like it. I was inspired. And I learned that MDRT qualification wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. I learned about even more successful advisors who were at the quarter table. And I met other advisors who were at the top of the table. I couldn't even begin to imagine how I could ever get there. But I did realize that these top of the table members were not superhumans. They didn't have special powers. They seemed just like me. So I wrote myself a postcard from New Orleans and I posted it back to London. I wrote to myself that I'd qualify for quarter of the table in 2000 and then top of the table in the year 2001. And by the year 2000, I was working harder than anyone I knew. I worked really long hours. It felt like I was working 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. And in 2000, guess what happened? Did I make call to the table membership? No, I didn't. But I kept trying. And do you think I worked harder? No, I didn't. I started to work smarter. After returning from the MDRT meeting in 1999, I was married. I witnessed the birth of my first child, I moved house, and I started my own business. And the only one of life's major events I didn't experience was death, and I intend putting that one off for as long as possible. So with all that going on in my life, I couldn't work any harder than I already was. And with a new family, I wanted to be there. I'd heard about the MDRT whole person concept. I didn't want to be a dad that was never around. I wanted to be there for my son, to wake him in the morning and read him a bedtime story at night. So I started to change my business to work smarter. I halved the number of hours I worked in a week and yet still doubled my production. I didn't quite make call to the table, but I was close. So what did I do? Well, the two main things were to ask for referrals every time and to increase the amount of products I sold. I used an idea called the opportunity grid. Remember, we said at outset that change is scary? Well, asking for referrals is scary too. Well, it was for me. So changing my business to ask for referrals was doubly scary until I realized that I provided an excellent customer-centric service. It wasn't about me asking referrals for me. It was asking my clients if I could provide the same great service to any of their family, friends, or colleagues. I didn't need a referral. I asked if they could make an introduction. I realized I needed to start operating more like a business than a salesperson. So I stopped and I looked around. I realized that all professional business meetings ran to an agenda. So all my business meetings had an agenda. The first points on the agenda were all about the client and what they wanted. Like all professional business meetings, the last item was any other business. But the item immediately before that was introductions. So asking for referrals just became another point on a professional business agenda. Not scary, and it happened every time. And that little change, which became a critical habit practiced every day at every meeting, meant my business experienced not just growth, but quality growth. I stopped and I looked around again. I realized that quality businesses had a marketing director, so I appointed one. Well, at that time, I couldn't afford staff, so I appointed the cheapest person I could find. It was me. What I did was I set time aside in my diary for what I called my future business. This was time when I gave myself permission to be a marketing director rather than a salesperson, and to not have to make a sale now, but to build sales for the future. Now, remember, my marketing director had no qualifications and no experience, but he'd been to some great conventions and heard some great ideas. So he adapted one just a bit for my business, and he called it the opportunity grid. I took a large sheet of squared paper, and across the top, I wrote all the products I had available to me: life insurance, health insurance, savings, retirement planning, and so on. And then down the side, I wrote the names of my 20 best clients. And then I went through the grid. If a customer already had the product, I colored the square in green. If a customer didn't need a product, for example, somebody already retired would not need a retirement saving product, then I colored in the square black. That meant all the gaps were opportunities to provide another great service for my clients. So I started contacting them. When we met, I had already printed out their line of the grid. I took along product details and a sheet that showed them the benefits of the products they might be missing. I found many clients were grateful that I had taken the time to prepare this basic financial plan, showing them areas where they could take further action. In fact, some clients started calling me if they had more money, as they wanted to fill in the gaps in their plan. And in 2001, guess what happened? Did I make Call to the Table membership? Yes, I did. And in 2001, The two MDRT members who had smuggled me into the reception in London invited me to join their study group. And this was like a mini MDRT in the UK. It was a group of MDRT members who met regularly and shared their best practices freely amongst each other for the benefit of all our clients. Even though we were competitors, there were no secrets or hoarding the best ideas. We shared. So all our businesses grew because all of our clients received better service. MDRT has wonderful resources available on study groups and mentoring. If you're interested, and I encourage you to do so, speak to your MDRT local or company contact or look online. Now, one of those members was serving on an MDRT committee and asked me if I'd like to submit a proposal to speak at the MDRT annual meeting in 2001. Well, I did, and I was selected, and I gave a presentation in Toronto in Canada. Well, it must have been okay because they invited me back to speak again in 2002. And the point of me saying this is not to impress you, but to impress upon you that it was being part of a study group of advisors that freely shared ideas to better serve our clients that led me to have the privilege to learn even more, to better serve my clients from those that I meet. Like you, picture it, 2002, call to the table member, MDRT speaker, working smart, bright future, the sky's the limit. Can you guess what comes next? Aim for the top. No, it wasn't. I hit the bottom. I got divorced. Nothing to do with work. I don't need to go into it here. But I had to move out of my home, away from my son. All I'd ever wanted was to be a dad that was around, to wake him in the morning, read a bedtime story at night. Now that had been taken away from me. Work was getting more difficult. Compliance and regulation was on the increase. My business costs were going up. Commission was coming down. I was in terrible shape physically. I was on my knees. Everything was conspiring against me, and there was nothing I could do about it. Or was there? I stopped blaming all those external factors, and I remembered my first lesson in this profession from 1996. We must take responsibility for our own success. So I stopped and looked around, and I contacted two MDRT members I knew just a little, but I respected a great deal. It seemed like they were doing okay, actually more than okay. I explained I was on my knees, about to give up and go and do something else. And you know what they did? They reached down and they pulled me up. They took time out from their lives and businesses and spoke to me. They shared ideas because that is the MDRT way, and the ideas got me and my business going again. I went back to basics and started doing all the things I'd done before, just tweaked them a bit and did them every day. I focused more than ever on customer service and making the client the absolute center of everything I did. And in 2003, guess what happened? Did I make top of the table membership? No, I didn't. I'll spare you the guessing. And I'll tell you, it was finally in 2006 that I qualified for top of the table, 10 years after starting in this profession. Yes, it took me 10 years to become an overnight success. Well, I did this by combining more of the ideas I'd learned at MDRT into my own business. I adopted and adapted a diary management system. I allocated time in my diary for all the important things I needed to do. First was family time. When I had the opportunity to see my son, I wanted to take it, so I blocked out that time. I told my clients this meant I'd be unavailable on Wednesday afternoons. And you know what? Every single one of them thought that was great. You see, by now, I had the type of clients who wanted an advisor who was like them. They appreciated family time. It's what they wanted for themselves. So it's what they wanted for me. People like them. From this, I created a values sheet. It's a one-page document where I list out my personal and professional values. I give it to every prospective customer, and I explain that I hope we share many. In other words, this is ethics. If you're an MDRT member, make sure you have the code of ethics on display in your office and as part of your professional and personal DNA. And if you're not yet an MDRT member, make sure you qualify so you can display the code of ethics.